welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and on today's program, we'll be chatting with Rob Corley from NeighborWorks Housing Solutions here in Quincy, virtually. First, though, we do check out the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, right on the cusp of that rain-snow line. We've got a little bit of mixed frozen precipitation going on right now. It's 32 degrees in Quincy right now. The freezing rain and the sleet are coming this afternoon as temperatures will drop throughout the day into the upper 20s by later on this afternoon. And this evening, it all freezes up as we dip down into the upper teens. Not a lot of melting going on this weekend either. Will be a bright, dry weekend with some sunshine tomorrow and highs only in the mid-20s. And partly sunny, a little warmer on Sunday, high 28 degrees. Some more rain here on Monday as temperatures will be back up into the low 40s. But again, right now, 32 degrees here in Quincy with a bit of freezing precipitation coming down at this hour. In the news today, Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch is preparing to bring several big-ticket items to the City Council for approval on Monday night. The mayor says he'll be seeking $2.3 million for a new fire department ladder truck and a new fire engine soon. Mayor also anticipates requesting the first round of funding of $1.5 million that's required for a new Squantum Elementary School. In addition, Koch says pre-sales of new plots at the Pine Hill Cemetery in West Quincy are coming later this year.
I know that we'll be advancing the Pine Hill Cemetery construction phase of creating an additional 4,000 to 5,000 graves up in West Quincy, which is really well needed. We're just about out of graves up there, and this will be a good thing. And by the way, you know, when something like the cemetery appropriation, we'll be bringing in a bond. The sale of the lots pays off that bond, so it doesn't touch the general fund. Taxpayers aren't paying for that. But I know a lot of Quincy residents, are interested and concerned about, where their final resting place would be, and they like to stay in the city. So, what we'll do is offer up a pre-sale, which is we haven't had that in a long time. It's usually at need because we don't have the amount of graves we need. So, we'll do a pre-need, which I think we'll sell quite a few of them right off the bat. So that's a good thing.
Mayor says the sale of the new graves will offset the cost of the cemetery expansion, estimated at $750,000. That cost for plots is still being tabulated. Quincy City Clerk's office getting ready for this year's state elections. City Clerk Nicole Crispo says her office will be notifying everyone whose wards and precincts have changed due to the redistricting that took place as a result of the 2020 federal census.
And that way it'll be closer to the state primary so people will remember where they vote. And with the changes, there was about 7,800 affected residents or households, I should say. But we'll put it on our Quincy website. We'll certainly put it in the paper and give it to you folks to put it out there for the public. And then I think it's best if we wait a little while before notifying people of their change of polling location.
The state primary has been set for September 6th. The final election is on November 8th. Nomination papers will be available from the Secretary of State's office beginning on February 15th. Quincy man's been charged with stealing $120 worth of Yankee candles from the Star Market on Granite Street last Sunday. Police say 34-year-old Edwin Cruz Flores grabbed the candles and then showed what store workers thought was a gun when he was confronted. Police apprehended Flores on nearby Quarry Street a short time later. They did recover a baton, but no gun was found. He does face a charge of armed robbery. Well, after 2.5 years, the North Quincy branch of the Thomas Crane Public Library is open again. It was a festive atmosphere when the branch reopened this past Tuesday after it was closed in August of 2019 due to a roof leak and a small ceiling collapse. The damage triggered a complete renovation project of that 60-year-old building that included a new roof, new windows, all new electrical and HVAC systems, and insulation to make the building more energy efficient. Interior improvements include new carpeting, furniture, bookshelves, better handicapped accessibility, accessible restrooms, and an elevator. And a reconfigured layout, too, to allow for separate children and teen spaces. And the renovation of an adjoining community meeting room is still underway there. Project was delayed by at least 5 months due to supply chain issues caused by the pandemic. The Thomas Crane Library Foundation and the Friends of the Thomas Crane Library helped to raise money for that new furniture. The entire project cost about $2 million, most of which came from the city's capital improvement budget. Officials say some of the costs, such as the new ventilation system, will be reimbursed by the Federal CARES Act. Library Director Megan Allen says the North Quincy branch is the most popular library in the city, with 1,500 weekly visitors and 82,000 books, DVDs, and other materials borrowed every week. She says Chinese language and children's materials are the most popular. North Quincy branch manager there, Dorothy Cronin, said she was excited to welcome the community back. Coming up, Robert Corley of NeighborWorks Housing Solutions of Quincy will be with us next. Welcome back. The issue of affordable housing has taken on greater meaning, certainly since the pandemic broke out almost 2 years ago now. Folks at NeighborWorks Housing Solutions here in Quincy have been working on that for many, many years, and we're so pleased to welcome virtually to the program the CEO, Robert Corley, to tell us a little bit more about that organization, how it might be able to help you, and how you might be able to help it. So, Rob, thanks for joining us. First of all, appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, Joe, great to be here. Thanks for making some time for me today to talk about these issues. Really appreciate it on a bad weather day.
I know. Here, thankfully, we do have virtual communication now that's become also common these past 2 years, so we're able to do this. And I thought a good way to start maybe just to let you kind of explain a little bit about NeighborWorks Housing Solutions' mission, if you will, its roots and what it does.
Sure, Joe, thanks. We started actually in Quincy in 1981 in West Quincy as a small neighborhood-based organization focused on rehabilitating homes and helping single-family homeowners with low-interest loans and grants to fix up their properties and their businesses. And as part of NeighborWorks America, we've grown to be citywide and then region-wide to where we are today over those many years, and we develop affordable housing. We have a few units in Quincy for sure. We have over 1,000 units in our portfolio, and about half of those are in Quincy. We also provide education for folks looking to buy a home, first-time home buyer education. Existing homeowners that are having trouble paying their mortgage, we provide foreclosure counseling and assistance. Or anybody struggling with their rent or having any kind of a housing issue, they can contact us, and our counselors can help them manage whatever crisis they're in from a housing perspective. In our affordable housing, we develop, of course, units that are affordable. We do that with bricks and mortar, actual buildings that we build new construction. We acquire buildings sometimes and renovate those and bring them up to standards or today's standards. But we also focus on special needs housing, housing for adults with developmental disabilities, homeless veterans, all different types of special needs housing on a smaller scale that we develop across the region. And lastly, we're also involved with administering programs for the state. So affordable housing isn't only about bricks and mortar and developing units. It's also about providing subsidies, so households can use those subsidies to help afford the high cost of rent in the market. So we also administer subsidies for the state, as well as other grants and assistance for families that are struggling to afford a decent place to live in one of the highest cost markets in the United States. So we're very busy, and we're doing great work here in Quincy and have had great support for a very long time in Quincy. I've been doing this in Quincy for over 25 years. And as mentioned earlier, Joe, I won't compare with your timeline, but Quincy's been a great support for us. And our headquarters is on Washington Street, right across from Frozen Freddy's there. Anybody looking for assistance, please go to our website and contact us on any housing issue they may be having. If we can't help you, we will find someone that can or point you in the right direction.
I know one of your proud developments is in the background behind you there, the Watson on East Howard
Yes.
Street, right down by the shipyards. And I know you're working on another project in Quincy Point as well on Winter Street.
Yes, on Lower Winter Street, actually, just across from the Watson. We owned an old two-family there. We bought that. It was one of the first projects I ever worked on, actually. And originally, we were doing special needs housing for homeless families. We would acquire anything we could, and we would fix it up as best we could to the standards of today. But as time has gone by, some of the other properties up along that strip there, we were able to acquire those. They were quite dilapidated and in rough shape. So in partnership with the city, we were able to acquire some of those parcels, and now we're able to redevelop a new property there, which will be 18 units of efficiency units, about 400 square feet each. And they will be for extremely low income and formerly homeless individuals. On site, there'll be a community room and case management services. It's a beautiful green new building, and we're able to really clean up the bottom of the street there, organize the parking a little bit better, bring back some greening to the sidewalks, actually have a sidewalk, because it's been a tough corner there for a very long time. So we're very excited about it. We broke ground just last month. You might have seen that in the headlines. And we hope to be opened in November of this coming year. So we're working away. A very exciting project. Been looking to renovate that area for about 20 years.
I know you're working in collaboration with Father Bills in Mainspring on that particular project. Is that a first for that type of partnership, Rob, or have you done that in the past?
No, Joe, actually, we've been doing that for a very long time, including with Father Bill himself originally,
Okay.
Way back. But providing housing first for especially chronically homeless individuals. This is the key to ending homelessness for the chronically homeless, and wrapping services around them in a stable environment is key. And Father Bills has been championing that for a very long time, and we've been happy to partner with them. But not only them, the city of Quincy, frankly, has been supporting this type of work for a very long time. And we have several supportive housing units like this throughout the city. But I'd like to think this is sort of the highest quality we've been able to get to at this point, with new construction, beautiful new building, LEED certifiable green, and just a high quality for the actual individuals that be living there. We've come a long way over the last 20 years, where before the basement of St. John's School, which is no longer there, you would really, try to provide housing for homeless in any way. You would really accept anything, to try to better that situation. But today there's a higher standard, and we develop properties that are worthy of the folks that are living in them, and they can be there with dignity and respect in a high quality, efficient unit. So we're very excited about it.
Can you talk a little bit, Rob, about how you identify potential clients, tenants, if you will? How do you determine who is able to utilize this housing?
Yeah, it's obviously in high demand, Joe. So a lottery will take place here, and again, there's criteria for every lottery, similar to any type of affordable housing. We have waiting lists for subsidies that are years and years long.
Really?
And when you look, there is truly an affordable housing crisis in this region. As you mentioned, the pandemic has certainly made it worse, but there was a crisis before the pandemic, and what we're dealing with now is really challenging. Really challenging. So the amount of people that apply for these lotteries are just in the thousands sometimes. So the units are desperately needed. But as I mentioned, we can't build our way out of this, so to speak. There has to be both sides of this. There has to be subsidy, and there has to be bricks and mortar. But Quincy has certainly been a strong supporter of us in this work for a long time.
That does seem to be one of the keys, is preventing homelessness right before it starts. So folks who are already housed, assist them in staying in that house, right? So they don't have to turn to a place like Father Bill's.
Yeah, it's luckily in Massachusetts, we do have a pretty robust ecosystem here of services and assistance for folks. And that's why I mentioned earlier, if people are struggling or they're, most are, check to check or one crisis away from potentially being homeless. We do have assistance and services that can help people that are facing, those challenges to try to prevent them from falling into homelessness. Because once you get down to that situation, it becomes very challenging to get out of it. But again, we're here to help anybody that's in crisis right now. In particular, this property may not fit. Obviously, it's going to be for 18 people only, but we can help others that are looking for assistance in a variety of different ways with other resources we have.
Actually, are you open to the public, Rob, for your classes at your Washington Street headquarters, or are you still doing virtual?
Yeah, we're definitely open. We've been open since really early on, in last April, I believe. We were fully open. We do by appointment only, for people coming in and out, of course. We are, for example, our home buyer classes. What's funny with the pandemic is the in-person class has always been my favorite. That's the one that I took. But the pandemic has forced us all to communicate and do things differently. And I think to some degrees it's been a benefit, especially for things like first-time homebuyer classes, which are typically 2 4-hour sessions. And it's allowed a lot more people to access our classes a lot easier. So we do hybrid models and so on. So we are transitioning back to in-person, but we're finding that most people still want to do that virtually. So we've come up with sort of a hybrid model there to do some of those things. But anybody looking for assistance, obviously calling us is the best. We don't want the pandemic or even all the technology we're using to be some sort of a divide between what people really need and the services they need. They may not have a smartphone. They may not have access to a computer, and our services are readily available even if they knock on the door. So without an appointment, we certainly don't turn anybody away.
Okay, good to know. We're showing folks your phone number and your website during this conversation as well, so they know how to get a hold of you. We talked about the Watson a little bit ago behind you there, and that was, as I recall, kind of a mixed income development. Is that kind of the wave of the future, would you say?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. The Watson is obviously behind me. It looks great, but it still looks great. It's a beautiful building. It's 140 units, and the mix there was a 20% affordable and 20% market rate, and the remaining 60% was what we call workforce housing, which would put rents at about 30% below the market. So that model of sort of a mixed income, as you mentioned, Joe, I do think is a great model going forward. Now, it required the subsidy to make that happen was this workforce funding that came from the state. In the absence of that, it's not possible. But in today's sort of development world, you have market rate developments and you have affordable developments. They tend to be 100% of each or some slight mix. We really like this model, and it won the Jack Kemp Award, the national award from the Urban Land Institute 2 years ago now. It seems like forever ago with the pandemic. For it's this unique style model, right? It destigmatizes affordable housing. You come to this building, you drive by it, you go inside it. You would never assume that there is affordable units here. And I think we need more of that across the region, truthfully, where we have mixed income opportunities for folks. And it's not, hey, they live in an affordable building or something like that. So depending on the population and the type, this one worked out beautifully, and we're trying to duplicate it across the region.
Are you concerned, Rob, about...
First for Quincy, though. Quincy leading the way again.
For Quincy, yeah. Are you concerned about the combination of the high cost of construction costs and materials combined with the labor shortage impacting your mission going forward?
Yeah, it's been impacting us. We were lucky that the state, has additional resources from the federal government, of course, to help with some of that. And I think it's masking some of those problems right now that will be here when that money is gone. The cost of construction is just really out of control, as everybody knows. This building right here behind me, we couldn't build this building now with the amount of money it would cost. The subsidy would just be incredible. And again, the market is also great and very strong in Quincy. and property acquisition is also challenging. But we have a small development we opened in Germantown just last year for adults with developmental disabilities with our partners Work Inc. A small or new construction single-family home type residence, group home, and we were grateful during the pandemic to be able to stay open. That the mayor allowed us to continue construction during that period of time, if you remember, so that we weren't subject to some of those major cost increases. That sort of saved us there. But the project that we're talking about along Winter Street, which we broke ground on just last month, that project has cost overruns right from the beginning, and we had to go back to the state for some more support, and to the South Shore Home Consortium for some more support. And they, like I mentioned, had some extra federal dollars, and they were able to help us. But same thing, we're coming out of the ground with a 72-unit affordable senior project in Holbrook, which the Quincy South Shore Consortium has supported. And again, the cost of construction there had an impact right before we break ground. So it's sort of a long answer, Joe, but I'm living it every day, that cost. And as we go forward, it's going to continue to be a challenge. It just strains the very limited resources we already have for this work.
Yeah, will NeighborWorks benefit at all from any of the federal pandemic relief money that's coming into the state?
Yeah, we hope so. We do administer emergency rental assistance, or ERAP and RAFT, not in Quincy. Our partners, Metro Housing, does that here in Quincy. So we've been administering some of that money or a lot of that money for quite some time. Yes, we do hope that a lot of this money, or a portion of this money at the state, will not only be put aside for special needs and homeless type projects, but also generally for affordable housing in the region. And also we're hopeful for some home ownership production, because affordable home ownership is really a challenge. And right now the state has very limited resources or programming to support the development of affordable home ownership. So condominiums and single-family homes, this isn't being built for folks, and the price of those things now is just totally unaffordable for many in the region.
Yeah, as you're well aware, the city, Quincy, has the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that developers pay into. So is that part of your resource arsenal, if you will?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Affordable Housing Trust has been critical in all we do in Quincy for some time now. And again, that was great forward thinking, and it was in place long before most communities, actually. And it's benefited a lot of the developments, including the Watson behind me, but also the project on Lower Winter Street that we're working on today, and the one I mentioned in Germantown.
NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, for folks who don't know, is a nonprofit 501c3 incorporation. So you benefit from donations, and I know you have a special program that folks can benefit on their taxes too. Is that right?
That's right. So thank you for that, Joe. Yeah, we're always looking for donations, both from corporations and individuals that may be listening today. But we have what we call the CITC, the Community Investment Tax Credit. And what happens is if you donate to us over $1,000, we can give you 50% back in a tax credit. So when you file your taxes at the end of the year, if you're a person that gets a return, you'll get that 50% back in addition to the return you were already getting, or whatever your tax liability is, will be decreased. Even if you're a foundation or an organization that has, you're part of an organization that has a foundation, they also get the tax credit back in a direct check from the IRS. So it's a wonderful program. We're part of the Massachusetts Association of Community Development Corporations, or MACDC, and they work with the legislator to have that passed several years ago. It's a wonderful tax credit that allows us to attract additional funding to support all our programming. And for more information about that, if I may,
please,
Joe, you can certainly go to our website. But you can contact Serenity Bello at our organization. Serenity is, her email is sbelo@nhsmass.org, or you can find her on our website. She's kind of a big deal in our organization, we like to say, Joe. But Serenity can certainly help anybody that's interested in learning more about CITC. But any donation of any amount, honestly, even a donation of $100, could be worth a week's groceries for one of the families that we're assisting here in Quincy. So any donation at all of any level really does have an impact and goes directly into supporting the families that we're working with here in the city.
I know, Rob, you typically have a golf tournament fundraiser every year. Are you hoping to do that in 2022?
Yeah, and we didn't close it. We did it both years during the pandemic too. This is for a second chance for homeless veterans.
Yep.
So we have veterans properties in Quincy, as well as throughout the region. We just opened a brand new one in Marshfield just last month. Beautiful historic renovation of an old school on Ocean Ave there. And yes, that's in June. It's a golf tournament called the Mulligan Tournament, which again, that's the second chance part for homeless veterans. And we also have a gala in the spring, or sorry, not the spring. The golf is in the spring. In the fall, the Opening Doors, Changing Lives Gala that we hope we'll have in November this coming year. And that's another way for people to get involved and learn more about what we're doing. We'd love to have you for golf. Definitely different weather than what we're seeing today. Hopefully, wouldn't want to be playing golf today, but it's a tournament we've been doing for over 20 years. It's a remarkable support for a very long time.
Appreciate your time, Rob. Great to talk to you, and wish you the best in the future.
Joe, thank you so much for your time today, and I know it's a busy morning for you. Really appreciate. I'm sorry we didn't get to do this in person this morning. Next time, looking forward to being back in studio.
Absolutely. We look forward to that as well. Thanks again. And you mentioned the weather. Speaking of, just enough time to check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. The rain will be switching over to a freezing rain and eventually sleet this afternoon. There is a winter weather advisory, so look out for some slippery conditions through this evening as well. It'll dry out over the weekend, staying pretty cold, though, until the next chance for rain on Monday. Thanks again to Rob Corley for joining us from NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. Speaking of Monday, join us here with the car doctor, John Paul from AAA Northeast. Until then, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a good weekend.